beyond human perception, the vast spectrum we're missing out on. So I have long been fascinated by what is beyond our human perception. And, for instance, the fact that humans can only see a tiny fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum, or that dogs can hear things we can't, and other such interesting details. So I decided to ask ChatGPT some questions to get an idea of just how much or how little we actually perceive. So here is what ChatGPT came up with. First of all, let's explore sight. What percentage of the entire spectrum of light can humans see? This was the question I asked ChatGPT. Response. Humans can see only a fraction of the entire spectrum of light, specifically the visible light spectrum. Visible light spectrum ranges from approximately 400 to 700 nanometers. In contrast, the entire electromagnetic spectrum, which includes other forms of light, such as radio waves. Yes, radio waves are light. Microwaves, infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, and gamma rays spans from less than 1 picometer to over 100 kilometers in wavelength. I mean, that's just astounding to get one's head around. 100 kilometers in wavelength. Considering the vast range of the electromagnetic spectrum, the percentage of light that humans can see as invisible light is minuscule, much less than 1%. So the answer to the question of what percentage of the entire spectrum of light can humans see, less than 1%. Now, next question. What percentage of the total information that we see do we actually process with the conscious part of our brain? So in other words, what we technically can see, how much do we really pay attention to and process with our human brain? Answer. ChatGPT's answer. The human brain is constantly bombarded with a vast amount of sensory information, of which only a fraction is processed consciously. While the exact percentage can vary based on the study and methodology, and obviously the person, it's often said that we consciously process only a tiny fraction of the information we receive from our senses. Some estimates suggest the conscious mind processes about 40 bits of information per second, while the unconscious mind processes, get this, around 11 million bits per second. This means that, in terms of visual information, we are consciously aware of only a minuscule portion, possibly less than 0.00004% of the total information our eyes and brain receive. The vast majority of information is processed by our subconscious, allowing our conscious mind to focus on what is most relevant or important. So, in answer to the question, what percentage of the total information that we see do we actually process with our conscious brain? Answer, less than 0.0004%. So, let's multiply that out. What percentage of the total spectrum of light do humans consciously process? So as in, with everything that you see of what is actually available to be seen, how much do we process? Answer, less than 1% multiplied by less than 0.0004%. And you can do the math. Now, let's look at sound. What percentage of the entire spectrum of sound can humans hear? So of the entire spectrum of what we know is called quote-unquote sound, how much can humans hear of that? ChatGPT's answer. Humans can hear sound frequencies within a specific range, commonly referred to as audible range. The human audible range is typically between 20 Hz and 20,000 Hz or 20 kilohertz. However, the entire spectrum of sound frequencies exists beyond this, from infrasound, which is below 20 Hz, to ultrasound above 20 kilohertz. Given that sound frequencies can range from a fraction of a hertz to many gigahertz in the ultrasound spectrum, the percentage of sound frequencies humans can hear when compared to the entire spectrum is very small, much less than 1%. It's worth noting that this percentage can vary depending on individual hearing capabilities and age, as older individuals cannot hear higher frequencies as effectively as younger individuals. Answer: less than 1%. So let's have a look at what percentage of the total information that we hear do we actually process with the conscious part of our brain. So as in, for everything that we do hear, how much of that do we actually process? So the exact percentage of auditory information that we consciously process compared to what we hear is not straightforward and can vary among individuals and situations. This is ChatGPT's answer. However, based on general knowledge and understanding of the human brain's processing capabilities, we consciously process only a small fraction of the sounds we hear, possibly around 1% to 10%. The remaining 90 to 99% is either filtered out or processed subconsciously. It's essential to note that this is a broad estimate, and the actual percentage can vary depending on various factors like attention, the importance of the sound, and individual differences. So looking at all that, what percentage of the total spectrum of sound do humans consciously process? So for all the sound waves that are out there, how much are we actually capable of hearing and processing with our conscious brain? Answer: less than 1% multiplied by less than 10%. And I'm even using the big number. I'm being really conservative. And again, you can do the math. So beyond human perception, the vast spectrum we're missing out on. When you think about how engrossed we are in what we see and what we hear, and how it feels to us as though that's all there is with regard to sight and sound, consider what we've just covered. Consider that of all the light information that is available, we can only take in and process, just at all, on any level, less than 1%. And the same goes for sound. And of that less than 1% that we can actually take on board and process of everything that's available, it is a minute amount that we actually then consciously process. So what are we missing out on? What is beyond our human perception? Well, that's for another discussion, but it constantly baffles my mind.